Hello and good morning. You are back with the crew. And we're at our old favorite location here. Many of you remember the meditation rock in which I'm sitting on. Many of you remember the old hat, the old famous Farms hat. Those of you who have been around for a while. Today we're going to talk about some fun stuff with my dog here, Ruby, and I don't know, the rest of them are running around here somewhere. I'm sure they'll join in, a cat or three. Today I want to talk about, as you saw in the thumbnail, there's three things that are really big to me. And I'm going to add two or three other little trinkets for you, if you will, here today. Finite is something that crypto has. It's a finite number of tokens, and it's a concept that Wall Street doesn't understand, banking doesn't understand, mankind doesn't understand. There's nothing finite about the dollar bill. They just keep printing more and more, as we all know. Well, crypto comes along and decides, my dog's digging up dust clouds all over the place here. They come along and they want to keep printing, and they want to create more and more inflation. We know that's not good for the little guy. It's good for the big guy. Good for the guy at the top, right? The big man. It's not good for you and I. Well, finite, when it comes to storage of value, you can't even wrap your mind around something that's finite. Mankind just really can't do it. We know there's one-offs and one-of-a-kinds, and there's only one Mona Lisa. We understand that, but we've never dealt with anything of liquidity of asset, should I say, of something that is finite. It's really important to understand that man's dealing with a whole new concept that he's never had to deal with before. Mankind, I mean it, you ladies as well, when I talk about mankind, I mean all of us. We are at a place, thank God, to where this has come along. And I do believe that God's involved here, and it doesn't matter what you believe. There's a higher level of mankind, in my opinion. It's okay whatever you believe. It's good for you. That's not what this video is about. So when we talk about finite or infinite, right? Something that can be infinite isn't finite. So they can just forever, they can continually just print more and more and more. In other words, when I talk about infinite banking, we sort of just throw the term around, but really what it means is you can constantly reuse the same dollars over and over and over, and that's what they do. That concept is a little different than finite. Finite is something that's really important for us to get our heads around because it's almost impossible for man to understand. The other one is exponential. When you have something that's technology is exponential. It's always multiplying. You look at the amount of data that's on the face of the planet, and I believe it doubles every 18 months. That's probably accelerating from that number. That's hard to concept. That concept is almost impossible for you and I to understand the magnitude of the ramifications of all data duplicating every year and a half. That's just mind-blowing. You and I understand a little bit better compounding. We get compounding of interest, and the compounding of, well, I had 10 things, and then now at the end of the year, after 10% interest, I have 110 things, and that 110 the following year, I get 10% return on 110. So that compounding number always goes up. And when you compound, it increases so dramatically if it's uninterrupted at a rate that is, again, beyond our comprehension, really. This is why Einstein called it, I believe, is one of the great wonders of the world. When we deal in a cryptocurrency, almost all of them, not all of them, but many of them are either finite or being burned in many cases. In particular, in Bitcoin's situation, there is a finite number of them. They're being mined. The mining will end one day. And man can't really grasp what that means, but it seems to me that governments and people, and in particular BlackRock and your favorite people to hate, or whoever you have at the Wall Street level of banking that you've decided is mankind's problem or issue going forward, the monetary system, all of those people are getting it. And they're getting it to a point where they're starting to comprehend that an investment actually is limited in its availability. There's going to be a time when the music stops and there's not going to be enough chairs, and then there's going to be a lot of people that are going to need them. Unfortunately for Bitcoin holders, there's been many, many other coins that have come along that are nearly the same technology, if not better in many cases. XRP comes to mind. But that's helped with that finite number. But there's going to come a day when people are going to pick the top 10, top 50 coins, and the rest of those are trash. We're not going to use those. We don't believe in them, because that's what man does. We do things that are called network effect. When we get into a network effect, into a finite item, such as XRP, okay, when you get to that point with mankind, you're going to have more FOMO than you can even imagine. Fear of missing out. We are going to reach a level and a place where all people in your neighborhoods and in your places that you live are going to come to the conclusion that you came to already, that you already understand. And with the burning of coins, those two numbers are coinciding together. And when they collide to each other, it's going to be the haves and the have-nots all over again in the future. The difference is you're going to be a have, not a have-not. That's a really good thing for you and I, and that's a beautiful thing for mankind if you're in the haves. If you're not, then you're in a situation to where you're going to have to wait for the next great invention or technology explosion that goes forward, which could take another 10 years out from now before that happens. That's why I'm so happy and proud of all of you for being involved in this revolutionary time in which money is being digitized in a proper ledger that makes sense to us and in a finite way. What I do concern myself with, and I hope this comes across well because I'm not trying to bag on anybody else, but I hear a lot of people talking all the time about rules and regulation and legislation, and we need these things. Without these things, we don't have a real market. I would 110% disagree with this, because the reason why crypto was created was for decentralization. Well, now you're asking centralized institutions to go with a decentralized product. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Also, we created this finite product, and we created it in a permissionless basis. So let's go over the word permissionless for a minute here. I don't need anybody in between myself and Mr. Johnson, who lives in the UK, of transacting between each other or giving each other our hard-earned labor, because it's now we've paid our taxes on it. We've done all that through the centralized system, and we've given you your ransom. And now it's time for us to transact between me and Mr. Johnson. Yet we have so many people in crypto are telling me that we need somebody in between there because we're not adult enough, or the code isn't perfect enough, which I already know it is, that we need somebody in between regulating to make sure that that transaction's cool. No, I don't believe that to be the case. In fact, it's a complete contradiction to have something that says permissionless and a perfect blockchain accountability in a decentralized system, and then you're asking people who are dinosaurs older than me to come in here and try and tell you how to do it. We don't need them. We didn't need them to begin with, and one day man will figure that out. They'll overstep their bounds. I'm just sad and upset to some degree that it's going to take us 10 years of figuring that out. I know why it's come to be. It's come to be because a lot of people would like to be wealthy with crypto tomorrow. They think that regulation's going to bring more people, and they think it's going to add more to their bank account. They're probably true about that. That's probably accurate. You get mainstream and all those people in there. But how does that help Main Street? It doesn't. In my opinion, it doesn't. We're trying to get away from a middleman, and we're trying to get away from remittance fees and all these things, and now we're trying to beg and hope and pray that these guys get the fact that we can create a perfect blockchain that's permissionless, decentralized, and we can have this thing, and we're going to do it all together, and we're going to kumbaya with all the governments around the world, and it's not going to be manipulated. That's impossible. I shouldn't say impossible. It's just not very likely. And that saddens me, because there's too many of us that, well, we had this incredible vision, and we had this hope, and we had this dream for a fair and more honest, decentralized system. And it's looking less and less like that. It's looking more and more centralized to me. Does it mean that it's going to, in my lifetime, ruin everybody's life? I don't believe that to be true at all. The amount of liquidity that is coming into this market currently, and by the way, I've been looking at some Japanese numbers, I've been looking at some other banking numbers, and they are off the charts. China has no choice. China has to print a bunch of money. The real estate boom is over. Now they're in this massive electric vehicle, EV boom, and it's blowing up, and they're making 10 times more cars than they need to make. What does that sound like? Sounds just like their housing bubble. Well, they have to blow more bubbles because they got to keep their people to work, and they have to keep the system moving. Without it, they end up with, well, a crash, a massive crash. Total devaluation of the yuan, even as much as it's been devaluated now. That is not necessarily what you and I want. However, it could be a benefit to anybody who has, say, some property, some precious metals, or some cryptocurrencies. There's Jesse. Hi, Jess. That's my new pup. Well, he's not new, but he's been around a little while. That's my big boy, Jesse. He's a very, very smart young pup. He's a black-mouthed cur, and that's what we raise around here. That's what all our dogs are, black-mouthed curs. So let me get back to where I was with that. Where I'm headed with this is when you stop and you look around and you say, well, what's happening here? Well, they're printing a bunch of digits, and those digits have nowhere else to go. Let me talk, because I talk to a lot of Americans, unfortunately, or should I say Western world people, and all of them don't understand crypto. And they don't understand crypto because they have two things that most people around the world don't have, and that's called stock. They don't have Tesla stock. They don't have, Microsoft shares. They can't buy the S&P. The S&P has been inflated, fraudulently or not, that's up for you to decide, that it's been inflated like a bubble intentionally, because all the 401ks and all the pensions and everybody's money goes into it. So therefore the American can play the dumb guy who just says, oh, well, I work really hard and I got a 401k, and those guys handle that. 90% of the people on the planet have no avenue for that. 90% of the people on the planet have no avenue. Amazing, right? Oh, man, coffee in the morning. I love it. It's a concept that most Western world people don't get. So let's just stop and think about, what are you going to do if you live in, let's say, less of a country? And I don't mean less in the people, I don't mean it in the government, and I don't mean it in the resources of the amazing country in which they live. I mean it in less ability to make money with money. Most of those people really don't know how to do that. They have been looking for years on how to do that and when to do it and what product what avenue do I use, Allan? What do I purchase? Look what came along when people were simply using remittance, trying to move money from one place to another to give to family members in a very innocent way and not pay through the nose and get their money to their loved ones in a different location. Crypto came along and crypto gave them that. And then what happened? Now we have stable coins that are doing the same thing. All of that led them to parlay money from stable coins into a crypto. Now it's going to be XRP that starts being used as these channels around the world to move money for banking institutions. And they hear about it from channels like this and better ones than this one. And they say, wow, I think that coin's only 60 cents right now. And I think it could go to 70 or 80 cents. Well, when you are on a limited budget and you can put $5 or $10 or whatever it is, okay, less than that, into something like that immediately on your phone, on your laptop, that's an opportunity for 90% of the world that doesn't have Wall Street, it's the real Main Street, right? Think about that, guys. This is massive for the future investing of man. Once man starts to trickle in from the sides in, that's why I talk about this all the time. American millionaires will be the last people to buy crypto because they earn their money in a different way and they worked hard for it and they use the fiat system to get there. And they have a business plan and their model worked and it's working for them. And that model of the one that the 90% of the people on the planet have to adopt instead of the model in which they used, they're going to have to create monthly generated income, which is where AMMs come in, the DEXs come in. All of this, guys, is going crazy. I don't know if you heard, I'm not a big fan of EOS, but EOS is paying 50 to 60% annually on staking EOS. These opportunities, risky, I wouldn't be doing it if I were you right away, not financial advice ever on this channel, but my point is that those opportunities, as more and more of the network effect starts to understand a finite product. That's what this video is about, and I hope you enjoyed it. I sure loved hanging out with my cats and my dogs with you guys. And it's been so hot, guys, that I haven't been able to be out here and do this with you. But I will do more videos from the rocks, in particular when the roosters aren't right next to me crowing, which can be an issue. All right, guys, I want to say that you purchase something that's a finite product. Mankind's never owned that before. You own that. Think about that. Think about how big that is, because I know it's almost impossible for you to wrap your mind around that concept of what that term means. But that's what you purchased. And that's inevitable. The only way that it's not going to go anywhere but up is if everybody quits using it, or doesn't see a use case, or there is no network effect, or there is no social media to promote it any longer. Well, what's the likelihood of any one of those three happening to, in particular, your favorite coin, XLM or whatever it might be, Hashgraph, or this channel, my channel, I really I like Bitcoin for a different reason, and I like XRP for a different reason. But I have to say that those are my two favorite coins going forward with the world today. And that's just my 2 cents. All right, guys, love you. See you soon. Yeah, every time I say to myself, I'm gonna make a short little video, little 10-minute job. I'm going to get my point out there. I'm going to be clear and concise, and I'm just going to crush it, and I'm just going to hit play, and then I'm going to nail it. And then 5-10 minutes later, I'm going to be, yeah, damn, 25-minute video again. What's your problem, Al? You've got some kind of damn problem here. You turn the camera on, and you're Mr. Blabber guy. I don't even know what the hell did any of it make sense? I don't think it did. I think you all should be watching a different channel. Maybe you guys ought to be a little smarter than that. But I love you for it.